I am into my finance. But you know that I'm not into the boring side of finance. Neither are you. No. You just want your money to do what you need it to do.
Simple as.
Yeah, and that's where Revolut come in. Look at that. Touch that as a card. How quality does that feel?
Oh.
Does that feel good? The look of the card. That says Laurence McKenna on it. Look, I'm not going to show you the back because I know what you guys are like. And not only that, but I've got it on my iPhone as well. So I can just double tap, Apple Pay, thanks, see you later, away I go. Not only that, but it helps me track all those finances. So every time I spend something, I've got it all logged down there. Makes it nice and easy for me.
You'd think that would be a lot easier than really it is. But Revolut make it easy. Yeah, and that's exactly the point.
I love it. But I think you'll love it too, which is why if you go download the app right now, you get a £20 bonus if you hit our link in the description, get any of your choice of card, because there are a couple of choices of card. You don't have to just take this one.
I do like that.
I could have drawn my own design on this. On the website, it says, oh, do you want to put your own little design on that? And I could have put my own design on it.
There you go then.
But I just went, no, I just want a black card. Thank you very much. So anyway, you get your choice of card, and then after 3 transactions, that means that you will get a £20 welcome offer. So all you got to do is just go into your local corner shop. Sure, I'll just tap that there. Sure, I'll just tap that there. Whatever. Oh, do I need to put it in the machine because you don't have contactless? Because, you know, you're an old guy who just runs a little corner shop and hasn't quite caught up with the 21st century. It's all right. This goes everywhere, mate.
Amazing.
I get the discounts with Nike. If you go to certain restaurants... It's Nike.
We're in the UK.
Yeah, well, we're in the world, Brian. Up to 40% off. Yes, please. So check out the app link in the description below. Go take a look at it. You're supporting True Geordie as well by supporting yourself by getting one of these bad boys.
Look after yourself and look after us at the same time.
Absolutely.
And get a great product.
Absolutely.
Everyone's a winner.
Now, let's dive back in.
We opened up the
old Instagram, the old Inst Live Vision.
We've asked you lot what you want us to talk about. First up, YouTube boxing. It's back. There's some great things and some not so great things. So
wow, you're really selling this.
Should we start with the good stuff first?
Yeah. By the way, if anyone wants Brian to commentate on their fights or wants him to be ringside for any of this stuff, it's this kind of commentary that people pay the big bucks for. Tonight, guys, there's some good stuff and some not so good stuff. Welcome to the boxing.
I would like to do that and just be completely honest, because I think a lot of the time on Sky, DAZN and all these other platforms, you do see a lot of hiding, and you shouldn't. You tell the audience the truth.
Right. What you see is, good evening, welcome back. We've got some big fights coming up for you tonight. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen in any of them, and that's what makes this exciting. And what they don't understand is, that's not what's exciting about this. They missell it.
But the positives are, KSI's coming back to boxing. It's happening.
Great.
It's real.
I'm in.
And from what I'm hearing, and I can't go into too much detail, but I do think the roadmap is 100% KSI fights Jake Paul in the next 12 to 18 months max.
At some point.
In the next year, by the end of next year, we should have seen that fight. And Jake Paul, according to Eddie Hearn, is fighting Tommy Fury this August as well. So that puts them in a direct, because the fact that they're both fighting in August means that they can sort of match each other on the road to fighting each other.
And of course, similar opponents as well. You know, we're looking at Tommy on one side, huge boxer. Alex Wasabi, obviously, he's equal.
Potentially Alex Wasabi. It might. There's rumours of Dylan Dennis, which I think would be...
Wow, that's a big step. That's a big fight to come back to. Good name.
He's technically a fighter.
Yeah.
So I get that. But he's a fighter who never fights, and his last fight was against some security guard who turned out to be a chocolatier, according to Michael Bisping.
Wow, that's actually cool.
Who choked him out outside. And Dylan Dennis, the one thing he is known for is jiu-jitsu, and he was getting tapped out outside of a nightclub in America.
Right.
The point is,
tap on the Lindor.
I'm excited. JJ, have you seen this transformation picture? His latest one.
Wow, yeah, the guy's got abs. This is at Radio 1's big weekend as well, so he's willing to go as low as that.
So this is the first time we've seen him in shape.
Look at that fucking chain as well.
Since the last time he boxed, because he obviously ballooned a little bit. I heard off our boy earlier that he was at an event, and JJ basically is being very strict in his diet, in his commitments. Right. You know, like bedtime and all sorts of shit. It's like,
really?
Yeah. He said that's
a great excuse when when Elliot's chewing your ear off an event and he goes,
"Gotta go, mate.
Yeah, gotta go. Bedtime. Yeah. JJ, what are you still here? It's 4 a.m. I thought you went to bed.
Yeah.
Sure.
See, I'm on a call.
Got a call in a club.
So KSI is coming back. We don't know what to expect. We've had 3 years or something with no fighting from JJ. So there's a lot of progress that can be made in that time.
And you don't know. I mean, he's also gone to music, so he's dedicated a lot of time to that. He sort of feels like he's nailed that. So back into the boxing.
So there's the unknown, because KSI from Logan Paul 1 to Logan Paul 2, in my opinion, there wasn't anywhere near enough progress made in those two fights. Yeah. If you look at the trajectory of Jake, if we're being brutally honest here, Jake is, I think until recently, made a lot of big jumps. And then in the Woodley fights, I felt like it was a bit of a regression, but maybe that's because there was a far better fighter in front of him.
Sure. It feels like a regression because the chart's meant to go like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the chart went...
and that does happen. Yeah. To be fair to all fighters, you see some fighters, they go from fight to fight where there's not a jump, and then the next fight there's a huge jump. So the graph doesn't go like that automatically.
Always.
I'm looking at them both, and I'm really intrigued to see where this goes. I think JJ is claiming his style is totally different now, and I think obviously it would have to be, because by his own admission, I'm sure he looks back at the Logan fights and think, you know what, that wasn't boxing. It was him going for a brawl.
Falling with style.
And it was a little bit. He was falling in a bit, and it was a brawler. I mean, it was badass, don't get me wrong. He was running after Logan Paul, fucking trying to take his fucking head off.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you do that against the Jake Paul, who is now a lot more skilled than Logan was back then, although Logan's also improved, Jake Paul would have timed that, and he would have took him out.
Yeah.
If I'm being brutally honest. So
especially if he can time actual fighters who've got years of this.
It was, ironically, it was quite similar to the Nate Robinson sort of fight where you're just running after someone trying to take his head off.
Right.
And now JJ is going to have to come with a lot more stereotypical boxing technique now.
Does that change things a little bit in terms of the actual spectacle that we get? That's the kind of the worry, isn't it?
In a good way.
But you say in a good way because you're thinking about it from a boxing perspective.
Yeah.
A lot of people, what we're finding out is actually just want to see a brawl. They're actually there for just go after him and go headhunting. Yeah. But that's not boxing, really. Like, it's not boxing in every sense, is it?
Yeah, I get it. Sometimes the more you learn, the less entertaining it becomes.
You become Jose Mourinho, basically.
And there's a potential for that, but I don't think so when it comes to Jake and JJ.
Because the emotion that goes with
the hatred there,
right, yeah.
they are going to want to take each other's fucking head off. And I think I think Jake in his last fight against Woodley looked a bit flat, didn't look like his fundamentals were as good as the Gibbo fight even. I think JJ's got the personality to bring out the best in both of them.
That's the other aspect, I think, of this kind of head-on collision between the two. When you've got Woodley or even Tommy Fury, to be fair to Tommy, obviously comes with a big name. He doesn't really come with the personality to be able to match Jake. There are very few people with the personality to be able to match Jake.
Yeah.
And JJ comes with the numbers, comes with the backing. He comes with a country of his own.
Bro, Jake Paul was the third best paid boxer in the world last year, to only to Canelo Alvarez, pound for pound number one,
and Tommy's brother
Tyson Fury, heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah,
he made over 30 million last year, and we already know JJ's making shitloads of cash and has a huge profile.
Yeah, so I mean, if he's got that amount of money to lose on Luna, then fuck me.
Sorry about that. And JJ. This is the thing. They can make one of the biggest fights of the decade.
Sponsored by Prime.
Like what we seen with Logan and KSI was fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but this would surpass everything because what Jake has went and done by knocking out real MMA world champions has legitimized himself to a degree. I know there's still people saying he hasn't fought a boxer.
Sure, whatever. That's not really the point, and I think people are sort of missing the point. Yeah, right.
He's massive now in the fight game.
But the production is also improving. So I think, from when you first commentated on the first JJ fight, which was JJ versus Joe Weller, and then there was JJ versus Logan, I've got to admit, in production terms, there wasn't the jump up we thought there was going to be. There is a legitimacy now to all of this production, so it begins to become a bit more, I could put money into that. It's not just sort of someone throwing 50 to 100 grand in and going, let's see. This is people going, we'll pay you a proper purse, we'll make sure you got...
Yeah,
it's becoming real.
And JJ versus Jake is going to be massive, so that would be on a platform like... they'd have to put it on Sky or DAZN.
How does that map out, though? Because, we sort of skipped over the fact that obviously Jake is next fighting, looks like Tommy Fury, right? That's a potential to come back down to earth moment.
It's a banana skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, because every single person Jake's fought, he's knocked out. And Tommy's skill level is by a mile higher than anything Jake's been in there with in his actual competitive fights. Okay. I know he's sparred high-level guys, higher level than Tommy even, but this is a massive jump up.
There's also a big difference between sparring and fighting, as most people know.
Yeah,
right?
It is a real potential to set him back into a YouTuber fight.
Right.
Because this is his first boxer, and if he doesn't win, where do you go from there? Because Tommy is kind of the lowest level opponent he can fight while being at a similar age, similar weight, and actually having some clout.
Yeah, a reasonable amount of relevance, something that is a legitimate name.
And a test.
And obviously, because the Fury name is there.
Yeah. The Fury thing is going to help.
The Fury name?
Massively, yeah. And we've seen last time, like, John Fury did most of the selling.
I love that. I mean, I hope he brings up more 80s TV shows. I hope he calls JJ a cat weasel. Yeah. I hope John's very much involved. Do you know what I mean?
He has to be.
John
because Tommy isn't a good talker.
Right.
You know what I mean?
He's not a good talker. Obviously he's married to a really successful entrepreneur, so I imagine he doesn't need to do a lot of his talking. She does a lot of the talking for him. Those two go to Dubai together. I'm sure they take each other's pictures. That's a great lifestyle. Is that the lifestyle of a boxer, Brian? Someone who flies to Dubai and goes, yeah, I'll be your Instagram boyfriend for the weekend. Is that a man who's taking boxing seriously?
I think he is.
Do you?
But I think he's just in a weird place.
Sure. He's stuck between these two worlds.
Well, no, he's fallen on his feet. He's got a girlfriend who's, this
She's
beautiful entrepreneur who...
25 hours. She's created extra hours in the day.
Women are obsessed with her.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, they're constantly following every move. And that
Why?
But by proxy, he then becomes like the token boyfriend.
Right. And the one that because she endorses him, therefore you should like him. Well, if she's dating him, he must be a good guy.
Yeah, like he's kind of like an accessory to her life.
Sure.
Like...
I thought you meant like murder or something.
No, like he's now part of the whole Kardashian-style show that she's creating.
Right. And the Love Island, that machine is created where people just come out and they get onto the conveyor belt. He's on that conveyor belt. I think he's a little bit... He doesn't know...
I don't know if he wants to be, though.
That's what I'm saying. He's a bit reluctant.
Have you seen the clip of Tyson Fury putting him to bed after the last fight?
The bit where it's post-fight and he basically goes, let's get in the bar or the club or whatever. And he's like, no, you should go home.
You should go home with your woman.
He was right, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Why?
Because he didn't impress that night. And I'm a bit... I get this. I get this elite athlete mentality sometimes of you need to have a self-imposed period of things aren't happy. I'm not happy right now, or I'm not... Or,
there was a moment where Tommy comes back into the dressing room and Tyson is the first person who greets him after the fight because Tommy was on the undercard. And Tyson goes, well... You nearly got him out of there.
Yeah.
And let's make no mistake about it. Like, the guy Tommy was fighting wasn't a good fighter.
No.
His fundamentals weren't there, and he could barely throw a good jab.
Okay.
This guy had a 10-1 record, and the way they were selling him was, look, we know we've had a load of bums in the past, but this guy's got 10-1 record. But when you look at his 10-1 record...
It's not legitimate in the way that you would want it to be.
Everyone he's fought is from Poland, and I've just got a hunch that all of those people, just trust me on this, aren't that good.
Right.
Right? And judging by the fact that he is visibly bad, and yet he's beaten these 10 guys,
right.
Just a hunch, not that good.
Maybe he didn't turn up on the big stage. Maybe that's it.
So Tommy showed more natural, boxing technique.
Has he really?
He has little movements that he does where you're like, okay, Jake wouldn't necessarily do that. And these are things that when you've been in a boxing gym from the age of 5 to 10 years old, he's picked up a lot of stuff that Jake hasn't had that time to do so. But the question does he hit as hard as Jake? Can he take a punch the way Jake can? And
didn't seem like he coped that well with some of those blows he took last time, so to speak.
Well, he's been caught a lot by this big right hand that people have thrown at him, and if Jake's big right hand lands, it's probably game over because he has legit power.
Yeah.
He's got enough power to put you to sleep.
Right.
Proper boxers to sleep. It's just whether or not you can land on a proper boxer.
Right.
And that's going to be what determines the fight, because Tommy is obviously going to be getting told by his dad, by his brother, here's how you avoid the big right hand. They know how to do that. But in the heat of the moment, people revert to type a lot of the time, and it's whether or not he can stay on his game, and whether or not Jake can line it up, can set it up properly. Because against Tyron Woodley, it wasn't a good performance from Jake. When I look at the way he was fighting Gibbo, and Gibbo all over you, doesn't let you breathe, and he was on the back foot, popping that jab out, timing him coming in. That was Jake's most impressive performance.
So what about the idea that Jake wasn't all that thrilled to be fighting Tyron Woodley again, and therefore he was just like, let's just get this out of the way.
I don't think so, because the only thing is after both fights with Woodley, Jake has complained about not feeling 100%, saying his legs felt like jelly, and I don't know what's going on there, because the fundamentals weren't as good as what I thought they would be at this point. And look, sometimes like the crowd must get to you, but I'm interested to see. Tommy is such a good test for Jake. You know what I mean? He's young. They both really need it. They both, and I actually think that there's more riding on this for Tommy personally than Jake. Obviously, financially, it's a setback for Jake. But for Jake, you fought a real boxer that everyone's been banging on.
Step down to step up.
I don't think Jake is going to be finished by Tommy. I don't see that kind of devastating power. But he could be schooled. Potentially.
He may beat him. I think no matter what happens with Tommy and Jake goes on that path towards fighting JJ. It's the other side with JJ where you go, okay, how does he map that out to prove publicly that he's the same level as Jake, or at least is up there? Because allegedly it's Alex Wasabi next, right?
Yeah.
Or it could be Dylan Dennis. If he beats someone like Dylan Dennis, does that then mean he can then go, all right, I'll step up to Jake? Or like, does he need a few fights under his belt to sort of legitimize this story?
I weirdly think Alex Wasabi's a harder fight than Dylan Dennis. After watching them...
Clip it up, folks. No, go on.
Well, Dylan Dennis, I think, is a very bad boxer.
Okay.
And Is
he a good fighter?
He's a good jiu-jitsu guy, but then he also just got tapped out by some chocolatier outside of a bar.
We've all been there.
The bouncer.
We've all had a few too many Lindor.
He was a part-time bouncer. He wasn't even a full-time bouncer.
He was part-time bouncer, part-time chocolatier, put the two together.
Strangled him.
Right.
On the floor. Just brute forced him.
Just say Toblerone.
Yeah. And but Dylan has name value, the fact that he's trained with Conor McGregor and all the rest of it, but he's just a little troll who... This guy hasn't fought in a long time, and when he did, he didn't look good.
Is he more of a social media star now
basically,
than anything else?
He's headed that way,
right.
but without being anything on social media even. I kind of just think he's just fucking his entire career that he could have had.
Right.
He could have really piggybacked off the Conor McGregor thing, and instead he's just become a bit of a joke. Whereas Alex Wasabi is actually really quite a fit kid, can run around the ring, can get you to chase after him. He's got to try and pick JJ apart a little bit, like land the jab, keep moving, jab, move, jab,
Sorry,
move.
I just don't see how JJ doesn't wipe the floor with this. And that's part, I guess that's part of the problem for JJ, isn't it? Like,
it's a lose-lose.
Yes.
It's not a great fight for him to come back to in that sense, because he's a tricky little fucker, Alex Wasabi, in terms of he's fit and he is going to be on his bike, so you're going to have to chase him down. What I want to see from JJ in that is not the lunging in and the wild swinging that we've seen in Logan Paul 1 and 2. Like, I didn't think that there was a lot of traditional boxing skill shown in that. I think he was a brawler, and he showed that he was game as fuck, and he had a good heart on him, and that he could bang. That's all good, and at that level of YouTube that we were at then, that was enough.
It also brought people into it, because people didn't want to go, oh, you know, this is a great level of boxing we're seeing here. They just wanted to see fighting. Like, they wanted to see fights.
Things are changing, and I think with Logan fighting Mayweather and showing that he had a lot more boxing technique by that point than when he fought JJ, the level is going up, and JJ needs to prove that he has been training, he has been evolving, because if you come with that game plan against, you know, the same game plan that you had against Logan, and we see the same thing of lunging in against Alex Wasabi, absolutely, that might beat Alex Wasabi, because JJ hits hard, right?
Jake?
But Jake has fought people who do that and more, and he's proven by knocking them out cold, that he can time you coming in like he did Nate Robinson and destroy you. So JJ, and I've seen him fight better than that. That was the thing is,
sure.
I seen him spar Faya Sensei. And
who's no slouch.
Yeah, he's very good. And JJ dropped him and showed a lot more boxing technique in that. So he can do it. But I think that was the game plan for Logan, and Logan clearly didn't like that. Yeah. And it worked. But we need more now. And against the Wasabi, he is going to be on his bite, it's going to be interesting. Because we're needing to see a huge jump in skill here. And that's where the pressure's on for JJ is. It's a guy who he's expected to beat. He's piled the pressure on himself by saying, I will destroy this guy. This is a guy who just beaten his brother handedly. So there's a little bit of family pride there. I'm excited because this is also a massive payday opportunity for JJ in the long run.
Absolutely.
Jake Paul versus KSI is one of the biggest fights of this decade, financially. I know,
and interest-wise. That's why it's big financially.
Eyeballs make money, and this is going to be a fucking huge fight.
Eyeballs should make more money. They're underpaid.
I'm excited for the fight in that sense, and I think at the end of August, when KSI and Jake Paul have both fought, we'll have a better idea. Because let's say JJ comes out looking far more skilled, which I do expect.
Which you'd also hope he is, because I also think, and let's be honest here, JJ probably wouldn't have set up this path for himself. He had a very comfortable life elsewhere. You know, he's obviously doing the music. He's got the Sidemen thing going, which is going really well for them.
For the music.
The boxes we're bringing. I think the main aspect is he could have just gone, you know what, I'm in a whole other life now.
I thought he would.
Yeah, and if he didn't want this and he didn't think he was capable, he wouldn't be doing this. And that's where the curiosity comes.
I like the ego of it as well, because he's piling the pressure on himself.
Look at that body, man. Like, the guy is in great shape. Yeah. You know, he's arguably in better shape than Jake.
To look at.
100%. Maybe they're disco muscles, but you know.
No, 100% he is. And I know he trains hard, because obviously Leon's training him, and we know that guy doesn't mess around.
Really, he's still got Leon just beasts people.
Yeah. Let's say Jake doesn't beat Tommy, it immediately gives KSI so much more to pile the pressure on and go, you see, I could take you.
I get that.
Because to me, the natural stepping stone for JJ from Wasabi is McBroom. Because McBroom's a natural bad guy, you know, like people in the UK would love to hate him.
I mean, he embodies everything that the UK dislikes about American YouTube, right? Like, he does the family channel, he did a lot of people rightly or wrongly believe that there's some form of exploitation of his kids or his family status there. Obviously, there's some sort of backstory which is still very mysterious that no one really seems to know with him, where it's like, okay, what is his real business relationship with his wife and business relationship with other people, but also what's he like as a person, because he's very contrived on camera. Like, he doesn't seem to be himself on camera. He seems to be the character of Austin McBroom. He's got this cool demeanor, but you can tell he's not a rad dude. Like, he's not. Gibbs more of like that dog style of fighter. He's not the pretty boy sort of walking around, obviously a good looking guy, but he's not the pretty boy sort of walking around with the swagger.
No, he fights hard.
Exactly.
Gibbs fights hard.
And I'd expect him to beat McBroom, like, relatively comfortably.
So this is the thing, is that's kind of the only unfortunate thing. If you're wanting a natural progression for JJ, right, it's to fight the winner of Austin versus Gabe. But Gibbs is bro.
And you can't do that.
They've sparred a lot, and they're friends. So that ain't going to happen. But that would have been a really good progression. But McBroom has some natural talent. And that's one thing that I've seen. I'm not saying it's enough to beat Gabe. The thing with the Gibb fight, and you know, I might do a breakdown where it's more specific, but here's the thing. The only way you beat Gibb is if you hit hard. Right. If you hit hard, you can keep him off you. Yeah. But if he does not respect your power, he comes inside and he'll kill you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so he's going to be all over you. So that's the only. He's only lost against Jake Paul. Arguably with Jake Paul, and I was actually took a car journey the other day with the guy who shot the behind the scenes of all the Gibb stuff before the Jake Paul fight, and he said a lot of what Gibb ended up doing in the ring wasn't the game plan. Like, he was disappointed that he didn't execute the game plan. So again, that sort of changes things again. I remember Vidal and Leon obviously saying as much, that they had to. They deviated to suit what Gibb wanted to do, rather than what they thought was the best option. Right, but he's sort of changed a bit since then, hasn't he? Like, if anything, he's gone more down that route. Exactly. Yeah, so before, obviously, it was just mayhem, and he's sort of walking to the ring screaming "my time" over and over again.
I love that.
Which
I thought that was great.
But the point is he was a madman. And I think you just have to turn that down a little.
Control that energy.
And just pinpoint it, And against Taylor, and everyone, I think aside from me, I don't know many, were picking Taylor because Taylor had shown that he was quite slick. But because we'd been in the gym filming in West Ham and other places, we'd seen Gabe, and Gabe is hard as nails. I heard one of the other YouTube boxers say something about who's the kid? He's in Beta Squad. He actually looked quite good on the last event.
Oh yeah, what was that kid's name? King Kenny. That's it.
Kenny looked quite good.
Yeah, Kenny's sort of got a bit of a thing in this because Beta Squad are obviously they're the rivals to Sidemen at this point in the UK. So he might have a bit of a stake in this, or he might be like a late, one of those runners that comes from the pack.
I do think that there's potential there, but like the last kid who he fought, the FaZe guy, just looked really good. Like he'd had a lot of karate and all sorts apparently.
Wow, what you can do against karate? He did like that was the problem, was those two were almost too legit and they met each other. They both needed a prep fight so that people go, fucking hell, he's good.
Yeah, so Kenny was talking about fighting Gib, but I remember Kenny saying something about Gib. He said, I think I could take him because I'm not sure on his chin. And honestly, this isn't, I don't care if these two guys fight. It would be a great fight, I'm sure, because they're both good. But Gabe's chin is rock.
Right.
Like, if you look at it, he's the only person who fought Jake Paul who didn't go to sleep. Outside of Deji, but obviously that was the first fight and they had head guards on and all of that. Like,
if the fight hadn't have been stopped though.
But the point was he took some great shots.
and he kept going.
And he kept going. And I've seen Gabe in spar Vidal and other people, and obviously Vidal, he looks after people. But the point is I've been very impressed with the heart and the chin of Gibbo.
Because every now and again Vidal does that thing where he'll slip you a little something just to remind you, like, hey, you're in the
your fucking hands up.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's what you need as an amateur, a novice, you know what I mean? But the point I'm making is, If unless you hit hard, you aren't beating him at this level. And that's why I knew Taylor was losing, because he didn't have enough beef behind his shots to stop him. Gib, that's the thing, is like, even for KSI, Gib would be a hell of a test in my opinion. And that's probably why they spar together so much, because it's good for them. But I'm thinking
they won't meet.
I'm thinking Gabe beats McBroom, and that's the problem, is where does KSI go next, really? It might be a quicker jump to Jake than
we think. Yeah. Just because there might not be a route mapped there for JJ. And that's what I was saying when we started this. Like, I don't know, maybe there's someone that comes out of nowhere and they fight on the undercard, and suddenly there's like, I've beaten him, I want to take a step up.
Yeah, maybe a Kenny or someone like that.
I think it has to be an American. I think it's got to be, you want to keep that Atlantic thing going. Once you go internal in the UK, I don't think the interest is almost there enough.
Logan's talking about coming back, but Logan seems to want to go. It's hard when you fought Mayweather. I think he's got his eyes on huge things. He's WrestleMania. He's right. Mayweather. Ironically, of all of the performances so far, I think Logan against Mayweather was the best YouTuber boxing performance yet.
100%.
Yeah, no disrespect to Jake, because he's had the more highlight reel moments, but the level of boxing ability he showed there, it was really something.
Also with Mayweather's actual feedback in the corner, like the feedback that it's
hard
corner were giving him,
jab.
Exactly. Yeah. But also, so not only were his corner going, you need to do this, he was going, I can't do this. Like, that's impressive.
And that's the thing. But I don't know if, I think Logan just wants to put on the biggest shows possible, whether that be wrestling, boxing, anything, He
understands the game in a different way, I think.
No, like, if I was Logan, this is the honest truth, I'd be going for a UFC fight, because his natural athletic ability and his background in wrestling, I've seen him.
Do you mean when you say that, do you mean actual UFC?
Absolutely.
Do you mean like going into the UFC?
He's already had the heads up of Dana that he would consider it. I've seen him roll with Paulo Costa, the middleweight,
my favorite coffee place,
and he looked very good in that. And I would literally have a gym set up. I'd have jiu-jitsu trainers, kickboxing trainers, I'd have all of that, because he can afford all of this shit now. He's buying Pokemon cards, for Christ's sake, for millions of pounds.
Who isn't?
And I'd be going, you know what? I want to be the guy who wrestled at WrestleMania, who fought Floyd Mayweather and fought in the UFC, and like find a guy, you know what I mean, to do that with
of his level. And
yeah, he mentioned Paddy. Like I don't think they'd risk Paddy in that way, because Paddy's a bit of a money.
He's a golden
bag.
boy, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's a Scouser. He's obviously he's got a bit of charisma, about a bit more than a bit of charisma, but you know, he's loved by England in general.
Yeah, he's our guy now. And the only thing is though, Paddy got up to over 200 pounds recently. He fights at 155.
It's impressive.
£50.
It's impressive.
50.
Yeah, but if that becomes his thing.
But that's the thing, is after meeting them both, the size discrepancy isn't what you.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
there, but it isn't gigantic.
It's not what you think. Yeah, it's not what
I
you
remember
think
meeting Paddy thinking, you're a lightweight. You're quite a big guy for a lightweight. It's interesting,
but you know when Logan gets up to, like, you know, Logan walk around compared to when he's in prep for a fight. I've hugged him both times. Like, I remember him when he was doing the little Frenchman thing with the hat and the thing.
I did enjoy that.
He was vast. Like, the guy was like, you were struggling to get your arms sort of around
Logan's
him.
He's got that optimal build. Like,
it's built to put muscle on.
So he could make middleweight, and he's bigger than Michael Bisping.
Right.
You know, who was a middleweight champion. So he has that very enviable long legs, small waist, long arms,
with a big behind,
but a strong core.
Right. And who doesn't want that?
No, but like,
you basically just described your perfect woman.
No, but you're basically ideal to make the most out of yourself at that weight class.
Absolutely.
So, but anyway, I'd go for that. It just depends, really.
Like, first of all, I think what it requires is some seriously good commentators, because you're going to need people who can unpack this now at this level. We can't just be going for, and I think that's what we learned last time. You can't have people coming in the rings and doing like stupid little poems and stuff like that.
No,
that was just painful.
No.
This is a different level now. This is Jake Paul. This is KSI. These guys are millionaires. These guys are the kind of people who have teams around them now. This isn't an amateur operation anymore.
It needs to be taken more seriously.
This needs, now it's going on DAZN or BT or wherever you want to put it. It's got to look legit, and I think this legitimizes everything. You know, this is the biggest step is coming in the next year for YouTube boxing. I think.
Yeah, I really dislike the way. Like, let's take for example when Jake fought Gabe, the way the commentators were looking down their nose at
right.
it. It's like, what? These guys are getting in the ring. They've got every right to get in the ring. Give them that respect. Like, people die in the ring. We've just lost someone in, I think it was South Africa in the last week. Everyone will have seen the viral clip of the guy who took a shot and then was punching thin air afterwards.
Did he pass away?
He died. Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. But I mean, that's also tragic.
So it was internal bleeding on the brain. And obviously, that setup didn't look the type of place where, because when you take a shot to the head like that, and this has been put in place in the UK because of this happening, you need ambulances on fucking queue. Like, everything needs to be ready to go because time is of the essence.
Yeah, because I mean, it's the brain.
And I know that's common sense, but like what I mean is like, more so than any other injury, you've got a finite amount of time, and that guy, obviously they didn't make it in time, and that's the thing, is like,
it's very sad.
But that's why I get frustrated when people look down their nose at it, and I get, like, some fights are silly, you know, like, but when you've got two people who've trained hard, taken it seriously, you know, Jake versus Gabe was that. You got to give it some respect.
And not only that, I think you need people who are gonna bring the balance. You can't. It sort of ruins the product a bit when you have people who are commentating who are looking down their nose at it, because as someone who's tuning in and is paying money, you want to enjoy it. You don't have to take part in this whole sort of, oh, look at these guys. Yeah. Like, that's a bit old hat now. It's kind of done to look down, like, at this kind of thing. If
you listen to the commentary of KSI versus Logan 2, Adam from Sky, it's live.
He doesn't do that line, but that's Martin Tyler. You know, but yeah, he have some respect for a real commentator.
I actually rate him as a boxing commentator. He's actually a legend of the game, but he was completely
out of his depth.
A granddad.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't work.
It would also be lovely to have someone like him ringside to be able to do something, but just not be the main person. Yeah. No, but not be the main person, you know? I think it requires a bit of a change. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it should be me. I don't think it should be me, but I think definitely someone like you should be involved. I also think like there's some really good other people who are in the space on YouTube who understand the space.
What about Liam from One Direction?
Shivers. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Liam from One Direction. Someone actually messaged me. Quite a few people messaged me.
We've had a lot of people want us to talk about this kid.
Right. First of all, I'm offended. I'm a white guy, and sure, I have like a boy bandish kind of look, or like at least I used to be in a boy band.
You look like man bandy now. Like, you know, when Take That came back.
Yeah. Sure.
Like when they were dads.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, sure.
Sorry.
Again, upsetting, but okay. A few people messaged me and went, "You have Liam from One Direction vibes." Now, I don't think that's true, and I'm a little bit upset by it.
I think in terms of self-awareness, you're really about the same. Yeah.
Right.
There's a quote I want to bring out from this guy.
Really?
Well, one of them got him up against the wall, and he said, "Either take those hands off me, or you won't be using them again, or something like that." Yeah. Or you might never use them again.
Yeah. It's also the deadpan way he delivers that is, and you see Logan go, "Yeah. Well, oh, you're serious?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Liam takes himself incredibly seriously, and obviously I think that comes from being in a boy band since a very young age, where a lot of people will be around him who are going, yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir. Like no one is going to question him.
He's ended up the way he is without having a serious level of arse kissing done,
right? Yeah, to
make him believe he is great at what he does,
right? And let's face it, like, you know, I think a lot of people are very talented musicians, but I don't know if he's any more talented. Yeah,
he's not one of them. Like if we're there's a reason why
you're going in one direction.
Yeah, you have some talent. You can kind of sing.
Yeah.
And Simon Cowell goes, not quite strong enough to go on his own though.
Right. So he's no Will Young.
So what we'll do is we'll get a load of other pretty boys, put them together, who can all kind of sing, like 7, 8 out of 10 singers, but together, girls will love them.
Right.
And that's
because
why
the looks.
After this podcast, all the girls are on Twitter moaning about Logan, asking him questions or whatever. I think Logan was getting a bit of stick for it, but
Logan got stick for asking Zayn.
I don't know. It's all the same shit to me, isn't it? But the point is,
people don't seem to understand. By the way, podcasts. People think podcasts work this way. I watch your podcast. Your podcast should be what I want it to be. No, it's the other way. Our podcast is what we want it to be. It's your choice whether you watch it or not. It's not our thing to please you. It's your thing to be pleased by us.
Or don't.
Or just fuck off.
See yourself out.
Exactly. Cunts. Yeah. You don't. You know, if you walked into Curry's and went, "Yes, I'd like some trainers, please." They go, "We don't do trainers here." You don't go, "Well, that's not customer service, is it?"
They're trying to blame Logan for their little pretty boy coming off like a dickhead. That's his fault. The words came out of his mouth.
Are you talking about Logan or Liam now?
Liam.
Right. Good.
Logan's pretty too.
Right, Logan's very pretty.
Okay, so the point is, the guy was coming out with utter nonsense.
I kind of want to find it. But
I've actually spoken to this guy once before, as it happens, on a Poker Stars tournament. We ended up in a chat room together.
Oh, really? What kind of things did you chat about?
Well, it was just weird because it was a celebrity tournament, so I was there.
Why were you in it?
I wonder who's going to be in my group. And it was just literally me and Liam. And I was
like a laugh.
He just pops up, and I'm like, "Is that the guy from One Direction?" Like,
did you instantly recognize him?
Oh yeah,
right. Okay.
Yeah, because he fucked Cheryl Cole, didn't he? Had a baby with her.
What?
Weirdly, Cheryl Cole met him when he was very, very young.
Oh, and she fucked it, but she was like,
and she was like a cougar, and he gave her a wink, and it turns out that stuck with her, and she ended up shagging him and having a kid with him.
She lit up his word like nobody else.
But the point is,
the way that she did her hair got him overwhelmed.
I should have literally just said, "I know you love Geordies. All right, son. Want a piece of this?
Right. You would have done some sort of mutual masturbation thing on this call.
I mean, if you transferred the cash,
close enough. Yeah, brings all your meaning to poker, I suppose.
So yeah, the guy clearly has lived a sheltered life where, and this is the thing, he's part of a boy band who was selected because they aren't talented enough to be on their own.
They're all built around Zayn,
and they've been completely and utterly manufactured to make their lives easier. So a lot of the songwriting, a lot of the tunes and all of that, they're not a band. They're not a band.
They're not the Beatles.
They're a group.
Right.
And they're a group that has this...
They're a collective.
You know, and when he goes on the podcast, like, I've written some of the biggest selling songs ever. It's like...
You're not Paul McCartney,
but this
are
is,
you?
yeah, that's the point. Numbers at this manufactured level...
mean nothing. Yeah, right.
The most viewed YouTube videos don't make them the best. Yeah, the most played songs are Ed Sheeran.
Right.
Enough said.
Ed Sheeran's music's very good. I don't understand what your issue is.
For the Nazis, it didn't make them good.
No, but
am I comparing One Direction to the Nazis? I think I just did.
I think in a way, but I also think what you need to go down the route...
A lot of people wanted Hitler. Doesn't make him good.
Bradley from Messed Up. Yeah. Beautiful. That's what makes you beautiful.
That's the point, though.
Do the harmony.
That's the point, though. Is like that may be one of the worst songs ever.
No, because
it's so catchy.
Yeah, that little girl sings it. Have you ever seen that little girl who sings it? The one who's like, you're insecure. And
weirdly, you've got a similar haircut to her right now. When you're a producer now, you want your music to be heard by the masses. You want people to love the tunes, and you work with who can afford that. If a record company has someone there that they know they throw money behind and they make money out of, they're going to get you the best producers. How on earth did Liam Payne end up in a room with Pharrell Williams? It ain't an accident. Pharrell wasn't like, you know how I'd love to work with? Liam Payne. No, that's not what happened.
No, he wanted Harry Styles, and they went, we've got the little version.
No, but the point is even he said, I shit the bed because I wasn't fucking good enough, and I knew
that should have been his first single.
I knew I wasn't good enough. So when Liam basically is like, yeah, sure, I'll fight KSI, you're like, you're not in the real world, son. You've had people tell you you're a great musician, and now you think you're some sort of tough guy.
Do you think he's tough, or do you think
he rates himself?
Yeah,
yeah.
Because I feel like Harry Styles, he's my favorite one. Like he comes across as like quite sort of
girly.
You know, just sort of. Oh, we're just having a bit of fun with it, aren't we? Like, our boyfriends have broken up with us, and God, aren't men just... They're just a riddle to be solved, you know? That's a song. Men are just a riddle to be solved. This is how you write songs. This is literally how you do it.
So this is the thing, though.
Just to be clear, One Direction broke up because, and I quote, they didn't want to exhaust their fan base. We broke up because we thought it was a little too much for you, all right? You could have gotten tired by this.
But he literally said, like, he wanted to beat the fuck out of some of them and that sort of thing. And I think
he could. Yeah. I think Liam Payne, compared to, and I'll read their names, Zayn. Okay, Zayn has very low body fat. I think he could probably beat.
Remember Zayn hiding away from Jake Paul as Jake Paul banged on his hotel room and asked him to get out.
Yeah, that was weird though. I would be a little bit intimidated by, Jake's again. He's got a bit of the dog in him.
No, but
similar guys.
It's the fact that Zayn could be heard on the other side of the dog and just fuck off and leave me alone.
I mean, to be fair, if you're Zayn as well, I don't think Zayn wants any of this stuff. I don't think Zayn's the kind of guy who wants that.
Zayn is obviously shagging that model and just living the life, isn't he?
It was entertaining.
It was, but it was also sad to see someone who was, so out of touch with reality. But it also gave a great window because most celebrities are around about that level of delusion. It's just,
really?
He was feeling himself, and it came out. And it came out in a big way. The fact that he said he could fight KSI, like, KSI'd rip his fucking head off within about 30 to 60 seconds. It would be over, and it would be in brutal fashion.
But I suppose Liam's main response to that would be, and I quote, live life for the moment because everything else is uncertain. If you want to do something, go for it. You've got nothing to lose. These are quotes that are attributed to this man, all right? I don't understand what, like, he actually also said the words, I'm a bit old-fashioned. That's a quote that's attributed to this guy. The shit that comes out of these people's mouths, and we have to pretend like these people are smart. I can't really cook, but the first dish I ever made was for my girlfriend. That's a quote on a quote page.
I've got nothing against him per se. Like, I don't really give a fuck either way, obviously, but he's a knob.
Did he deserve to have that level of backlash? Like because he was a bit of a knob on a podcast once and we sort of saw a bit behind the curtain. Did he really deserve that?
I don't think there's been backlash though, has there?
I think there's been a lot of people, like, our types, podcast guys who are a bit smarter than, we sort of went, yeah, I mean, he's been exposed, hasn't he?
He's been exposed for being a delusional twat. It doesn't mean that he is the worst person in the world.
No, I think... And
I'm not saying that.
That'll go on my headstone, I think. But, like, yeah, I get your point.
He's a little bit of a knob, you know what I mean? But, like, life has a way when you're up your own arse of exposing that and making sure you get slapped a little bit and woken up from it, you know what I mean? And maybe you'd hope he'd have the humility to realise, oh fuck, I do sound ridiculous here.
When asked what food he would be, he said, I'd be a birthday cake. Anyone who thinks they're a birthday cake definitely has delusions of grandeur.
So he admitted that a couple of them crossed swords and were fucking the same bitch?
In the same room?
Don't know, but
that's dangerous territory.
He admitted that one of them fucked the same girl. And if you're that girl, kind of well done, but also kind of calm down. You know what I mean?
Ironically, she was taking dick from multiple directions.
Literally.
Yeah.
Imagine they spit roasted her, though.
I don't need to imagine that, Brian. That was...
Lizzo has reacted to Liam Payne's interview and said he was not the frontman of One Direction.
Well, thank God Lizzo said that.
Glad Lizzo's got involved. So he basically went, Simon loved me and just said, I'll grab a few other guys.
That's not true though, is it? Because, I mean, it just isn't true. I think Simon will have sold it to him like that, but you were dead on
Probably
when you
said the
first
same
said
thing
it.
to all of them, didn't he?
Exactly.
They were sucking his dick.
No. Would you suck Simon Cowell off if it meant you got millions of pounds?
I think a lot of them would. And do you know what? If that was my son, I'd just say, look, mate, you know...
Get in there.
We're not going to get a mansion without getting a little cum on our lips.
You'd Michael Jackson it.
What, take pictures of my arse?
No, you'd Michael Jackson it in the sense that a lot of those parents went, oh yeah, off you go.
I guess this is really healthy for young women out there who are kind of, in their head, they create an illusion of what these boyfriend characters are.
Right.
And then they meet regular dudes and they're like, well, this is a fucking letdown, isn't it?
Right. You need to know, most men are empty vessels.
100%. Like, they're men on a mission. And usually that mission is very selfish.
Right.
And what you've just found out is that little boyfriend figure in your mind that you created, also a dick.
Sure.
So none of you lot are safe from dickheads. They're all dickheads.
That's a
Even
lovely
the ones with nice voices and pretty faces, also dickheads.
I'm a married man.
So this isn't about you.
Right.
It's not all about you.
I just thought you'd being passive-aggressive again. It's just sort of a thing.
So I think that this is weirdly a good thing to see someone outed in that way.
Right, to lower women's expectations of what men should be able to achieve.
If there's one thing I'm about, it's lowering the expectations of women.
Right. And I think you've made that your life's mission.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's very much sort of a long journey.
Do you think this is
mixed with a bit of self-discovery? Okay.
Do you think you have do you think all men have hidden depths? What I'm saying is, you know, in modern society, I think in many ways, men will get with a woman and they will be they won't have that level to them yet. They won't have discovered it. And a good partner will bring that out of you. But there are a lot of people who are not compatible, but they just go, we'll just stay together. And what the man does is he just closes off and just sort of
autopilot.
But that's autopilot for the rest of his life. But if you do autopilot for too long, you get stuck in autopilot and you ain't coming back from autopilot. Do you know what I mean by that? So you basically just go, yep, just bring this baby into land.
I think there's
Should we have another barbecue this weekend, love?
Like that.
I think I'll go out and do the lawn. Lots of little things like that where you just basically come up with hours and hours to spend away from your wife. You know? And then the women get into that thing where they basically go, everything's funny to them for some weird reason. Isn't that cute? They get really into the kids, and ultimately you're living a pretty depressing life when you could have been pretty happy with each other.
A lot of people, when they hit their 30s, they start thinking, you know what? I just want a bit of comfort. I
can't wait to hit my 30s.
I want a bit of comfort. I want to feel like I'm with a secure relationship. And
maybe a mortgage.
And life is settled. Right. You know what I mean? And I think because of that often means people end up going into a comfort zone. And there's a difference, isn't there?
There's a difference between being comfortable and having having a comfortable life.
But some people just literally just switch off because life is hard. You know what I mean? Right. And I think a lot of people just think, you know what? Can I be arsed with this shit?
I agree. I sometimes have felt that way.
So that's why
I feel
people
that's low-level depression.
They stay in relationships that maybe aren't good for them because they're like, you know what? The hassle of getting out of this, starting over on my own and all of that sort of stuff. Fuck it. I'll just play it easy. There's a theory that I remember hearing about where it's like, for women, they're always looking for that guy. They've got a thing in their head that they're looking for and they're trying to get as close as they can.
What do you think that is?
Whereas men, men apparently are a lot more like, they wake up one day and decide they're ready for commitment and then it's the next girl that they meet. Boom.
Really?
It's obviously it's not
everyone.
true, but there's a lot of people who believe that that's kind of how it works.
Do you think that's a hormone thing? Or do you think that's like a biological thing where you're basically like, when you hit a certain age, your body basically goes, well, we need to get this seed out there somewhere. Time to commit.
I've definitely been around quite a few men who
Committed.
I felt like committed because it felt like the right time to, not necessarily the right person.
Absolutely. I mean, we all know someone like
whereas with women...
You're talking more generally here. You're not saying all women are like this. You're definitely not saying liberal women. You're not saying LGBT women are like this. We're not saying that Q people are like this.
Can we not?
No, we need to do the caveats.
I think women are similar in that sometimes that they are just prioritising commitment of any sort. I think women care more about who it's with than men, generally.
Really?
Yeah.
But in the long run, it will damage you if you get with the wrong person.
Well,
in the long run, it damages your whole life.
Yeah, and I've seen that happen before, where women have been in a relationship and it's time to get serious, and then they have that moment of like, fucking hell, with this guy.
Right. Yeah, but ultimately they're too far down the road already.
Well, sometimes they back out. You know what I mean? I think men are better at just solemnly going down with the ship. And I think
you know what? I can understand that.
I think women have a bit more. Women often, on a daily basis, ask themselves, "Am I happy?" And that is a real problem for men, because we're a lot better at just going into cruise control and sort of living out bullshit. Whereas I feel like women have more standards for their life. And this isn't a criticism. This is just how I see it. It's a compliment in many respects.
Yeah, you're not saying that's true in every way.
I think women are more switched on than men to life.
That's also what I think society is sort of building people towards now. So it's not necessarily that's inherent to men. It's that what the current setup we have kind of is moving people in that direction.
But it is genetically as well. I just think women live more in their heads than men do. Men are better at switching off and going through the motions, and that's why men often feel hassle.
What's hassle?
Well, men want an easy life, right?
Do women not also want to?
Women care more about
the details, maybe.
Yeah, and what their friends are doing, and how that reflects on how they then feel. Them paying more attention to what their friends, fellas, are giving them, and how. Where am I happy? Is this enough? Am I getting enough? And that's where the questions start coming towards the man of, why haven't you done this for me lately? Do you love me? Or is this right? You know, all of those kind of things.
Find yourself a resilient woman,
and that's why men often are like, oh God. Well, okay, we'll do this because I want to keep up appearances. I want to keep making her feel okay. Because ultimately, I was
trying to book a holiday to Ayia Napa with the lads.
Because ultimately, I don't want the hassle of being pulled up on things and being questioned about things.
Is that not a stereotype, though, that I think a lot of people...
Everything I'm saying is a stereotype.
Okay, I'm glad you know. Okay,
yeah, what I'm saying is, like, this is a rule, but there are many exceptions to the rule. But I do think that what I'm saying, unfortunately, goes through a lot of people.
But that doesn't mean that men or women are destined to do them. It's just that these things play out quite a lot in your experience.
When people are in a long-term relationship, women are less comfortable than men are. Men get their feet under the table and like, right, sorted, got our... Did everything, did the wedding, yada, yada, yada. We got the kid, blah, blah, blah. And now I just want to go into cruise control. Whereas women are still wanting the fairy tale to continue. Whereas for a lot of men, it's like, I've done that now.
I guess you share some qualities with women in that sense, that you're never really happy. You're quite restless. You're always questioning things. That's
because I was raised by a woman, though.
Right, because you're a single mum, essentially.
Yeah.
So you have, similar to me, you have a lot of feminine qualities which manifest in quite a masculine way.
Yeah, I mean, I always feel like part of my brain is feminine because of being...
around a loving woman who...
all the time, and understanding that women do think a bit more about that, so therefore it's probably left a mark on me to think more about, is this enough? Am I happy? Is this what I want?
You are quite, that's a lot of, I feel like that's you, like it leaves you a bit restless though, if that makes sense.
Of course, yeah.
But that's interesting to unpack, but at the same time I also want to see you happy. So what makes you happy?
And that's where the masculine side of it comes in, of wanting comfort, of wanting
Rocket League every night.
I'm also aware that, like, you have to play the game, innit? You have to kind of be a bit on both sides and do
I get that.
enough for each other to make that last, don't you?
I really, and I think you like this, Brian. I deeped it for a little while.
Oh,
after,
really?
Yeah, I did. And that's sort of a podcast.
What does that mean?
It's a podcast phrase I picked up. So if you want to make it sound like you're very thoughtful about something and that you've really put some time and effort into it, you go, if you really deep it,
okay,
and then you drop a profound thought.
Go for it.
I did some reflecting on Amber Heard and Johnny Depp.
Oh, we've been asked to cover this because obviously now there's been a verdict.
Yeah.
Johnny essentially won.
Can I give you my deep
Turned
thoughts?
out she was lying.
Right, I get that.
Who would have thought it?
On a surface level, we've done the whole lying thing, right? But I was quite interested afterwards when I was thinking about everyone has sort of invested in one side or the other, and kind of I guess to me, I was sitting there thinking, why have we done that? Like, why is there such investment in Johnny and Amber?
I think it's because it's a very rare case, because generally speaking, this is the first time where we've seen a high-profile case where the man has gone the attack after being the accused.
But so he was the accused in the UK, and he was actually found guilty of quite a few things in England, and then he took it to America, and I think
he got her on the stand though. And that was a major difference.
And that's what I'm thinking here is I think justice in America is a little bit different to justice in England. And I think
this was trial by us. She killed his career with the accusations.
This is trial by the public. This is PR.
And this is the most important thing in reality to a career, is whether we want to see his movies again. And if we feel like he is this evil monster that she painted him out to be,
Harvey Weinstein style.
We do not want to go and... Yeah, Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, powerful men in the past who've abused their power,
right.
Which does happen, not denying that. But obviously, this was more revealing because we got to see her on the stand, and we got to see what an obvious liar she really is.
No, and I get that. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, people can get a bit bogged down in the weeds of it. Part of me I don't still understand why there is this need to invest in one side or the other. Do you know what I mean?
I think men and women both feel attachment to this, because women obviously have been victims. A lot of women, a staggering amount of women, have been victims of abuse
or coercion or whatever you want to call it,
in one way or another.
Right.
And men also feel like, because when women talk about this publicly, they use the phrase men, which obviously it doesn't mean all men. But when men read those things, they take it a bit to heart, and therefore they feel like, well, it isn't all men. And I think men out there wanted to show that, sometimes the accusations will be false.
Right. Okay. There is no 362 in this hotel.
And kind of the point I made in that podcast, which was ironically...
clipped up out of context.
Deliberately misinterpreted. And therefore, it's that beautiful way that online works, where you go... I'm going to deliberately misinterpret what he said. I'm then going to use fake outrage and be a social justice warrior against this person, even when I know the real point he's making is a valid one. But that doesn't help me further my own career.
Or my own status as online.
Yeah, so that if I'm seen as the guy who's bashing True Geordie, I've then got something to gain from this.
Also, because I think what comes with True Geordie is you're shorthand for men. You're kind of an easy, quite masculine target. Now, the other aspect is, like, when you're watching that clip back, did you sort of go, oh, I could have, you know what? Yeah, actually, I probably could have said that a bit better. I could have made that point in a different way.
But at the same time, I
know what you meant.
But everyone knew what I meant.
Well, clearly not, Brian. There's a lot of very angry people.
Because people deliberately misinterpret the broad point. Okay. So, for example, some of the examples of celebrities I used, one of them was guilty of something.
Right, maybe two of them, yeah, but for different reasons, yeah.
Which was stupid of me. But I think I mentioned Chris Brown and...
Cristiano Ronaldo and Conor McGregor.
Yeah. Right. They were a few. But the point is the list of famous men who've been accused of wrongdoing towards women is insanely big. It is from Neil deGrasse Tyson to Neve off of Catfish.
That was proven to be untrue, by the way. That was actually completely false.
The point is, regardless, is Chris Brown. Obviously, people thought I was on about Rihanna when I wasn't on about the Rihanna thing. It was another accusation he had.
About a month ago, Chris Brown had an accusation that was. Oh, actually, I think he took that to court, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so. But and you had Neymar, Cristiano Ronaldo, like so many superstars. And the point I was making wasn't that they're
one
obviously...
One of those not a great example.
I don't... Yeah. But the point I'm making isn't that...
Whether they're guilty or not.
No.
Right.
Because I'm sure some of them are guilty. Obviously.
Prove it.
Powerful men have abused power before. Weinstein and Bill Cosby, to the worst degrees, obviously.
Many of them.
But all my point is simple. Johnny Depp was proven to be innocent, in my opinion, right?
But only of defamation.
Only of defamation, but I see more than enough to think this was a toxic relationship where if anyone was more abusive, it was her. Right. And yet she was the one slinging the shit.
And so that's what I found. Yeah.
So my point was only that when you look into their financial situation and you see Johnny Depp worth 500 million, Amber Heard worth a couple of million, and the level of reward that could have been there for her to bounce a career off of the back of being married to him, but also being a victim of his, and therefore becoming somewhat of a person that Hollywood has to gather around and help out and boost her career.
To take the victim position in that triangle, the drama triangle.
And more importantly, like, I personally have had a babysitter when I was a kid try and touch me, and that sort of thing. So I'm not marginalising overall victims, because I know not just women, but people can be victims of men who are in a position of power, as that babysitter was with me.
Right.
Okay. Now, luckily that, didn't go the way it could have done, but it was terrifying. You know what I mean? It was a scary moment in my life when I was a kid. I was about 8 years old. So
to that extent, what you're saying is you understand, or you feel that you can relate to their position as a
absolutely.
A
and I've interviewed a woman who was kidnapped for 9 months at 14 years old, and it was one of the most, if not the most powerful interview of my entire life.
Right.
So emotionally, I connect as best as a man can with people who've been victims on a general level. And as I said in the podcast, which obviously didn't make it to social media,
they should do really. What I think when people do the clipping, they should be able to put multiple bits together. What people tend to do is just take one piece.
How about don't clip me out of context and just watch the entire podcast? The point is,
we should probably call the podcast that.
Yeah, the point is general people in everyday life who have issues like that and make accusations. I generally think probably 99.999% are telling the truth, and maybe there's one crazy person in there who may not be. For example, I think to act like no one would ever lie is silly.
Right.
And as Amber Heard proved, how much she lied, whether it be about donating the money or all the accusations towards Johnny, which had such little proof, and his accusations to her had such big proof.
But also how people had experienced the complete opposite of what she'd experienced. So
absolutely. So all I'm saying is, when there's such a huge reward as Johnny had above his head, and as all of these male celebrities have above their head, as she proved, I'm not saying something that hasn't been proven. Sometimes someone can lie in order to secure the bag, and I just think that the fact that so many huge celebrities have been accused of these things, it makes me think that the likelihood is that some of them have also been falsely accused.
Absolutely, and I think, but that's.
But I'm not saying that that's definite. I'm saying it could have happened,
right? And
therefore, logically, there are people out there who would stab someone in the chest for £1 million. There are men and women who would do that. This isn't a sexism thing. This is just an opportunist thing. People are opportunists in life. And to deny that and to ignore that that's even a possibility, it's burying your head in the sand and acting like this, that someone wouldn't lie about someone in order to secure a £10 million payout or whatever and change your life. When people burgle people do things that are for minimal amount of money. So then to say that they wouldn't wrongfully accuse and lie about someone to secure millions of pounds as a potential, just to even acknowledge that it could happen, and to then say I'm a victim blamer just for even saying, hey, this is possible. Guess you Amber Heard did that. Maybe someone else might have done it before. To even call me a victim blamer just for suggesting that is a possibility is insane.
Right.
It is insane.
And I get that.
Because I'm not saying every celebrity who's ever been accused is innocent. That would be mental. That is not. When people try and take you out of context and they deliberately misinterpret you so that they can put themselves on a pedestal as the hero who is bashing you because you're such a bad guy and they're trying to cancel you. I don't respond to it because they're only making themselves look stupid. Everyone who knows me knows that that's not what I am.
Or that what you're saying.
No.
Because I also
and everyone with common sense out there knows that. But some people just don't like the fact that I've made a success out of my life. But you know what? Here's the sad bit for those cunts. You know, if you do manage to somehow cancel me, you get rid of me, your life's still shit. You don't get the chair. You don't get to come and live here and be the podcaster. You don't get to take away everything I've built through my hard work.
But when you kill the king, don't you then take the crown? Right.
You don't. You
Not
still.
The king, but,
you don't get all the food in my fridge. You don't get my TV. You don't get every other.
That's a lot of food.
So destroying me, as much as that might feel good in that moment, you're not going to be happy.
But
Keep trying.
But that's kind of what I understood from that was. I realised there are many different angles that people come at this case from. And I think you were coming at it from one angle, and your focus was very more male focused than female focused. Naturally, you're a man.
The reason I had a babysitter when I was 8 years old, rubbing on his crotch in front of me.
Yeah, that's horrible.
And wanting to fuck, right? So it ain't like I'm unable to imagine how a woman would feel in that situation because I was a child in that situation. So for them to have a go at me, and I have no shame in admitting that, and I don't think anyone should.
Why would you? Yeah.
For them to be like, this guy, it's like, well, actually, I do have experience in that, but you didn't know that because you know why? You looked at me and thought, big man with tattoos couldn't possibly ever have been a victim of sexual abuse, or anything like that.
Because they see you now, not
exactly
before. Right.
And that's why people attack me as well, because they look at me and think, manly man who is suggesting that a woman could lie purely because a woman has lied, and that's been proven, and we've seen that happen.
I mean, it has been played out that way.
Literally, we've seen that she's lied about all sorts of things, but that doesn't mean all women are liars. I'm just saying it could have happened before. But for them to just take one look at me and bash me, I've had this my whole life, and, and I'm quite fed up with it now. Like, I know I might look gammon or whatever, right? Or whatever they say,
ready pink,
like a Brexit looking cunt or whatever, just because I'm, tattooed and
Did
English
you vote
guy.
Brexit?
But I'm kind of fed up with it. You know what I mean?
I get that.
I'm bored with it. That's why I don't respond publicly on all the tweets and all that. I just can't. You don't know, so fuck off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They use a bias against me because I've said something dumb about football.
And that's kind of what I'm saying,
or something that they didn't like, or they've seen the rant videos from years ago and they think that that's who this guy is.
And they think they know you. And this is the smart thing I think Amber Heard did, or Amber Heard's people did.
They made it about women.
Right.
And that's why they keep saying,
and that's what I said.
That's why they keep saying this verdict has set women back. No, it hasn't. You've set women back.
Right.
You know why you set women back? Because you lied.
Right.
You lied.
Yeah.
And all of the other women out there who are telling the truth are now going to be looked at with skepticism because of what you did. So don't blame me for what Amber Heard did.
That's what I found.
Amber Heard lied.
So that's what
I didn't lie.
Right. That's you're telling what you believe to be the truth there, and what you're saying how you see it. It doesn't mean that you're saying
that's what pisses me off is because what they don't realise is Amber Heard's spin campaign is working on them, because by me even mentioning that other women may have done that before, they're attacking me. But it's because of Amber Heard that we're having to acknowledge that. It's because of people like her, scumbags, who want to take down a guy who's worked very hard for his whole career because it's better than her going back to her bullshit life.
Right. But and then there's the Johnny side of the spin machine, where I think that's what Johnny. It felt to me, the more I looked at it, the more like the PR people around Johnny had gone, we need to get a hold on this because we need your career to keep going, basically.
I don't think that. I think it was do or die. It was your career's fucked. You need to challenge her with everything we have and have this out in court in front of the world, because then they'll see, once she's on the stand, he knew her and he knew. Like Liam Payne, Liam Payne, put a microphone in front of him. I bet you all those One Direction lads in that band are like
thrilled.
No, but I bet they're like, now you will see what he's like.
Zayn probably went, now you see why.
Yeah. And similarly, the minute she was on the stand and started with the tears about the most ridiculous of things and overacting and showing that she was overacting because she was desperately in trouble and trying to sell everything that was bullshit, Johnny Depp would have sat back and went, I knew this was going to happen because I know her.
I'm bored of something happening in one person's life, like a celebrity or at least someone who's like semi-famous, and that becoming something that everyone relates to, and then there's 10 Guardian articles about it, about how this is about abuse of women, this is about men being this is about women being this. Like, sometimes things just happen to individual people, and I get it, but it doesn't have to be a societal trend. Not everything has to be, yes, that's happening in society and therefore it's happening everywhere, and that's globally everyone's experience. And if you don't relate, you're the problem. If you don't understand it, you don't get it.
The fact that they were like, yeah, Johnny Depp winning this case to just set all women back. It's like, just, do you really think like the idea that we're comparing Johnny Depp to all men
or Amber Heard to all women?
A good little catch up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this.
Thanks a lot to our sponsors for today as well. Appreciate you guys.
Big love, Revolut.
Putting the card out there.
Do remember, check the link in the description. If you do care about us, we need you to back our sponsors. This is important. These guys are looking after us. We want you to look after them.
So they're also a product we believe in, which is very good,
they're actually very reputable and very very handy to have.
Actually, a really great app as well. Really
go for it, guys. And thanks for watching. We appreciate you. Don't forget to hit that like button, stay subscribed. Thanks, and we'll see you on the next one.